Welcome back to Sunrise. We're still talking with Honorable Namdas, spokesman for the House of Representatives. Honorable Namdas, staying with you, you said something about adding funds to the health sector's budget, but from the information we have, it was actually reduced by about 7 billion. And again, that increased to the budget of the National Assembly up to 139.5 billion from about 128 or thereabout. Did the number of those in the National Assembly, did they increase in size, or is it that you're increasing your emolument? Is that what led to the increase in the budget of the National Assembly?
Well, let me clarify that I told you that we have increased allocation to the health sector. I have just told you that the consolidated revenue account for the first time, 1% of it was dedicated to the health sector, in order to try to cure maternal mortality or a lot of things. So I think that settles the issue. This is something that is factual and can be traced. On the issue of the National Assembly, I think there is something people need to know. The National Assembly is not constituted of only members of House of Representatives and senators, because what people think is that there are 360 members in the House, 109 in the Senate. So if allocation is 139.5 billion, you divide it by 469 people. And I think that is not true. In the National Assembly, it is important for you to note that there are certain agencies of government, such as NILS, National Institute of the Nigerian Institute of Legislative Studies, is an institution under the National Assembly. Public Complaints Commission is an agency under the National Assembly. We have staff of the National Assembly that work also. We have capital projects in the National Assembly. Even if you go to the National Assembly, the massive building, anytime you come as a journalist to cover activities in the National Assembly, you also know that the National Assembly needs even an attention, even the building itself. This is not to talk about public hearings that is expected to carry on a daily basis, because for you to make law is something that requires funding. Because I am a lawmaker, it does not mean that I know everything under the sun. If, for example, I'm supposed to make law on health issues or on engineering or what have you, I need to call public hearing. And by doing public hearing, I need to advertise it in national dailies. I have to go on television. I need to invite experts. I need to get consultants who will come and give me input. Because when you are making law for good governance, you need to do it and you require funding. So this funding has to come in the National Assembly. If other agencies of government are asking for more funding, is it wrong? Is it a crime that National Assembly to say, we are also part of this government, we require funding to also work effectively?
But
so, and that is not only the National Assembly.
The argument will be then that the legislators are not doing exactly what they ought to be doing. I mean, the president is talking about going to set up a committee about foreign trade. But Nigeria is losing money daily through illegal routes of trading, international trade. I thought one would be thinking that the National Assembly would be thinking about setting up or putting laws in place to ensure that the executive does what it ought to do, so that the revenue of the nation is bolstered, not necessarily by borrowing. Is that what's happening?
My brother, if you go to the history of the National Assembly, I, as a spokesman of the House, I have sponsored a motion in the National Assembly on revenue leakages. This is something that is verifiable. I have sponsored in 2016, I sponsored a motion to say, look, if Nigeria can block leakages in terms of generating revenue, we can use revenue to even fund the national budget. If you can block leakages in VAT, custom duties, FIRS, and all other agencies of government that gets revenue for Nigeria, I can tell you the amount of money we are losing in terms of even corrupt practices, in terms of leakages. If we can block this and get it, we can fund the budget.
Okay.
But
thank you.
Anytime we do, the attention is not, yes.
Thank you, Honorable. Let's come back to Mr. Iyore in the studio. He spoke about the budget being a one-year budget. The one for last year was signed in June, so it should run till June this year. But our fiscal year has not been amended. Our fiscal year is still January to December.
That's right.
So what is going on?
Well, I'm quite excited, not in a positive way, by the arguments that I see. Because I would have thought there are two things in contest here. Ensuring that private interest does not take over what is public good. I don't see anybody defending the public good in the system. Just like I said, basically, even before the budget is passed, there are certain expenditures that are allowed to go on, which is why it comes into it until projects come, like the current costs and stuff of it. So you don't change your fiscal year just by the day of the signing, except again, it's a different matter. And if you look at it carefully, legislators are known for, say, your amendment, my amendment, to correct things and make sure, like you said, to make them work. I don't know if I've heard of any amendments to ensure that things are working properly. Now, we will also know that the bureaucracy of the government itself is flawed, is faulty, and it is the inability to perform properly that is making the members of the House become combative and saying something must go to the local governments. But I would have wished they looked at it from a bigger and more global perspective. For example, what is the industrial policy of Nigeria? What can I expect to see if I go to Maiduguri?
Do we have one?
There's none. What can I expect to see if I go to Lagos? What can I expect to see if I go to Kano? What can I expect to see? And after the state federal has done its policy, the states also must have their own industrial policy, all the way to the local government. And then you can begin to engage people. Like I also said, they have never used social enterprise. I don't know, for example, where they're going to find all the builders that will build all the new houses and everything. Meanwhile, I know Julius Berger has been here for a long, long time. I don't know how many apprenticeships they have so far offered to us. Those are the issues. I mean, at the end of the day, a government must be able to deal with a surplus, create a surplus. Because if it's not creating a surplus, it loses the imagination to think properly. It goes around cap in hand, trying to gain things. I think they must all do their roles. Government must know how it wants to do what it wants to do. But the legislator must be allowed to interrogate why that is being done and whether what they are put before them is fit for purpose, but not around personal interests with public good thrown away completely. That's my challenge.
But is that why it's so difficult to work our budget?
Yeah, that's why. Because if you haven't got the, let's say one thing, for example, if you've already told yourself that 900 primary schools in Nigeria will get a bus to take them to school on a daily basis, so they're not knocked down on the road. Before the budget goes out, that figure is already off the budget. You know exactly what that is going to do. But you leave all of these details to some scrawny whims and caprices, do whatever you like, budget the way you like. If there's so much idle money, which is why you can't allow the budget to do what it wants to do. I mean, like, I was at the president's swearing in, and I listened to his narrative. For me, it was like a prologue to the Black Panther. He didn't talk about he didn't talk about just post-independence. He talked about the empires that were in Nigeria and how they survived, and why so many years later we need to find out from someone that we can wake up or go to sleep. That's my challenge. There's so much confusion, it's unbelievable, and I don't know what we're doing. So they need to know, it's clear, the budget is the instrument of the head of state or the sovereign. The legislators can question why it is being done the way it's being done, and then find out whether it is fit for purpose to grow the economy. So they're not doing that.
The why is...
The why is on the legislature.
Honorable Namdas, we'll take this back to you. You mentioned something about pre-budget meetings. It looks like, from your submission, it looks as if they never happened. Did the National Assembly request for pre-budget meetings to find out the why the government is wanting to do certain things?
Yes, I think it's not expected of the National Assembly to be the one to request for a pre-budget meeting. Because the National Assembly, we don't write proposals. It is the executive that will come up with a proposal that will be submitted to the National Assembly, which is now turned into a budget. So he who wants to propose, you are the one that know what you want to achieve. So when you are proposing, this is what I intend to achieve in this fiscal year. Then because of what you intend to bring, which as a legislator, I don't even know. Because it's only when you bring the thing to the National Assembly that it becomes ours.